Hello, I'm Shukla Choudhury and welcome to my online class. Today I will discuss the famous poem of English literature, Crossing the Bar, written by the famous poet of the Victorian era, Lord Alfred Tennyson. Lord Tennyson wrote about eternal human questions and offered solace and inspirations to his readers. Tennyson had his first poetry published in the collection Poems by Two Brothers. His poetry deals with various themes and expresses the spiritual unrest of his age. Among his best known poems are Break, 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 Crossing the Bar, The Charge of the Light Brigade, Ulysses, Tithonus. Tennyson fell seriously ill in 1888-89. He was then 81 years old. The thoughts of death made him write this poem, which, in his own words, came in a moment. He named this poem Crossing the Bar. The bar is actually a bank of sand, but here it is used as a symbol of the barrier between life and death. The poet uses the journey motif to express his views about his journey from life to death and beyond. A ship which clears the harbor crosses the sandbar and puts out to the open sea. In his words, sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. Crossing the Bar is one of the best known short poems by Tennyson and of English literature. It compares a voyage to the final journey, that is the journey from life to death. The poet hopes this final journey to be calm and secure and one that would make it possible for him to see God. The poem opens with a calm and gentle note. The poet refers to the sunset and the evening star that appears in the sky early. He says that he hears a clear call for him to start his voyage to the unknown. He hopes that when he starts his voyage, his ship will clear the sandbar smoothly, without any turbulence associated with moaning of the bar. Here, the journey across the bar is symbolic of the crossing from the harbor of life into the dark, unknown sea of life, or rather, afterlife. And the clear call is the call of impending death. The sandbar that separates the harbor from the sea is a demarcation between life and death. It is important to note that the poet uses the metaphor of journey to refer to the journey of his soul to the next world after his death. He says, "But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out of the boundless deep turns again home. A ship's sailing from the harbor is smooth when there is full tide. Then the ship easily crosses the sandbar. The poet's wish is that the tide should be such that the voice is smooth. He wants the movement to be calm and quiet. At a time when the sea will be so deep that there will be hardly any sound and high waves. Thus the speaker wants a tide that is too full for sound and foam, and whose moving seems asleep, so that his ship could cross the harbor and enter the sea. The speaker then refers to the tide as the one which drew out the boundless deep turns again home. This is suggestive of the speaker's soul returning to eternity just as a tide returns to the depth of the ocean silently with no turbulence. Here the poet has drawn attention to the fact that the journey into death is merely a part of a cycle of birth and death. The going out is in a way returning home to the boundless deep from which the speaker, like everyone else, came. The poet compares the approach of death to twilight and darkness to death. He knows that darkness will follow old age. There is no escape from that darkness, that is death. He writes, twilight and evening bell, and after that, dark. And may there be no sadness of face well when I embark. When he starts his journey, he does not wish to see any sad parting scenes. In other words, he wants to remain happy at the time of his death. He does not want himself or others to be unhappy. He does not consider death as bad or cruel. Death is, in fact, a getaway through which one passes to enter the next world. So death will be welcomed cheerfully and should always be welcomed cheerfully. For though from outbourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. And the final stanza lays stress on the significance of the journey. The poet is confident that after crossing the bar that separates the harbor and the sea, this journey would lead him far beyond the limits of time and place, where he would be able to see the pilot face to face. In capitalizing the first letter of the word, pilot, the poet has equated the pilot with God, in the disguise of a qualified mariner who steers the ship through troubled waters. The speaker hopes to see the pilot after he has crossed the bar. He who was and is always guiding us, that divine, that unseen. Crossing the bar is a lyric. It may be regarded as an elegy, also as it is concerned with death. Though the mood is neither sad nor sorrowful, death and dying, here is the theme of this short and meditative poem by Tennyson. Here the poet has drawn a parallel between a routine journey of daily life and journey into death. That's a beautiful poem that leaves a meditative thought within us. Please think of it, listen to this, try to understand the mood of the poem. That's all for today. Take care.